Hey everyone, so I just want to go over the metabolic optimization diet. This is your nutrition framework. We're going to be covering all things nutrition in regards to your nutrition guideline. This is going to provide the philosophy, more in-depth understanding of nutrition, the inner workings of everything that will be highlighted in your nutrition guideline framework. So what we'll cover in this presentation is meat, nuts, breakfast, quality protein, what it's defined as and how much, greens, what that's going to be in terms of choices for food, carbohydrates, fats, water, natural salt, supplementation, and conscious eating. So we're going to go over each of these items one by one in greater depth so that you understand fully about nutrition. So first one, meat and nuts breakfast. I don't care what your goal is. This is a highly beneficial breakfast, no matter what your goal is. So the point of this is really to drive energy, focus, and manage blood sugar effectively throughout the day. No matter what your goal is, you want to try to keep insulin, which is related to blood sugar, nice and level throughout the day, not high highs and low lows, erratic spikes throughout the day, keeping it nice and level. So we'll get into it with the meat and nuts breakfast to start things off. You pick any animal protein, could be eggs, could be beef, could be buffalo, whatever your heart desires in terms of meat. Could be fish, and a handful or two of nuts. So this could be pistachios, walnuts, Brazil nuts, cashews, etc. Seeds and peanuts don't count, though you can add those in. But like pumpkin seeds or even macadamia nuts, those are things that you can add into the mix. But really, the above is going to be more beneficial for the choline content, which is going to drive acetylcholine, which is really a neurotransmitter for focus. The energy and drive is going to come from dopamine, which is in the meat. There's an amino acid, tyrosine, that drives dopamine production. So when you look at this philosophy of eating certain foods, really just the way I like to describe it is food is a drug, and it will shape your thoughts, your behavior, and your results. So eat the right thing, you'll think the right thoughts, you'll make the right decisions, which will lead to the results that you desire. So this is just a prime example of starting your day off right. Start it with the breakfast of champions, the meat and nuts breakfast. And this was developed by my mentor, Charles Poliquin, and it has been a staple in my diet and my clients' diets for years. Very, very effective. Implement it and stick with it. You can certainly do a test, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your cognitive function, clarity, and energy after eating a normal breakfast, such as eggs and toast or oatmeal. And then the next day, have a meat and nuts breakfast and rate your cognitive performance, energy, and focus after that breakfast. And you'll notice a difference. One other thing I'll add here, there's something known as the second meal effect with a high protein, healthy fat meal first thing in the morning or for your first meal, is that it actually will regulate your blood sugar very similar in the second meal. So this is another example of how it just levels off and influences your blood sugar management later in the day and in the meals to come. So this is going to be good for reducing inflammation and just letting your metabolism be effective as it should be. Protein. What kind of protein? So I want to focus on animal protein as the quality protein source here. And what qualifies as quality protein? Well, the more natural, the less industrialized that the processing that the animal goes through, the better. Meaning that they are what they eat. So if they're eating in a grass field and roaming free for their entire life, stress is going to be low. They're going to naturally take in the nutrients that their body is built for, and they're going to reduce inflammation as a whole in their bodies, which means that they're not going to have those inflammation markers in their muscle, i.e., meat, and we're not going to consume that. So the cleaner the animal lives and eats, the cleaner the environment, and the cleaner it'll be for us to eat. So they are what they eat, we are what they eat. So grass fed, grass finished, wild, wild caught, Alaskan, not Alaska. That's a key word right there. Alaskan is actually Alaskan caught and processed fish. Wild, wild caught. Wild it is truly a wild fish. You want to look at make sure that it doesn't come from the China seas because that's heavily processed. But you can get wild or wild caught. Wild caught means that it was born in a farm, but then let loose to be free and then later caught. So that just goes without saying that, wild is best, but wild caught is still definitely better than getting a farm raised fish. Pasture raised chickens and poultry is going to be your best bet. But I also want to emphasize, don't let good be the enemy of perfection. If you can get animal protein versus no protein, you're going to be better off. So keep that in mind. But the philosophy remains, go for the best, the highest quality with what you have around you. You can go with local butchers, farms, butcherbox.com, thrivemarket.com. Great sources there. Local grocery stores are being more readily accessible with these higher quality meats. Costco is a great source for bison. For many of you, you have a Costco around you, so ground bison is a great source. It is, by law, has to be pasture or grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised. So the key here is 30 grams, no matter what your goals are. 30 grams is going to, per meal for protein, is going to lead to increased muscle metabolism and energy for your body and the brain. So this really is the light switch or the trigger that pulls the mechanisms within. Basically, 30 grams of protein is going to lead to the amino acids within that protein to circulate throughout your body, and then it's going to turn on the genetic switch to improve muscle recovery, development, and enhance your metabolism. So those are going to be all good things no matter what your goals are. Variety, as always, will be emphasized throughout this presentation, enhances absorption and usage. So grass-fed beef is going to have a different protein makeup, meaning it's going to have different amino acids versus fish, versus bison, versus yak, versus goat's milk. All those things, they have a different amino acid makeup, which means that it's going to require different enzymes within your body to digest and utilize. Enzymes are created from nutrients. And if you're eating the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to be withdrawing from the same nutrient source over and over and over again to create the certain enzymes to digest that protein or food. And so that can create deficiencies down the line, and that can also decrease the absorption and utilization of nutrients. An example being protein. So variety is always going to be your best friend. It's going to enhance your metabolism and your usage of the nutrients that you eat and take in. So just some food for thought there. More on protein. Plants and nuts lack the key amino acids that complete or quality protein has. It's the equivalent of a Ferrari versus a Toyota. Both are cars, but one's high performing, highly tuned, has everything it needs to be a high performance machine. Toyota just has a variety of different cars, both high performance and mid-range and low-range performance. So plant protein has there are some complete protein sources out there, but very far and few in between naturally. And animal protein is always just going to cover your basis for what you need, no matter what. So Ferrari will get you from point A to point B. You'll look good, you feel good, and you perform well. That's the idea I want you to get around animal protein versus plant protein. Not against plant protein, but just for the purposes of enhancing metabolism and providing all your necessities. Animal protein is the gold standard. Animal protein is muscle. So muscle is a nutritional storehouse for everything health. Your body doesn't focus on building muscle first. It focuses on brain function, brain health, immune function, digestive health. detoxification, balancing hormones, and then it goes into muscle to some extent. So if you have an excess of things and you're doing things right, you can build muscle, increasing your nutritional storehouse. So your body's going to store nutrients in the muscle, and that's going to lead to a savings account for the priorities that your body needs to use to function and thrive: brain function, immune health, and digestive health, as an example. So people who get diseases and injuries recover faster if they have more muscle mass on them. And this is one of the reasons behind it. So muscle mass is a nutritional savings account. Health equals performance. So this is kind of bridging off of that: muscle equaling health. Health equals performance, but performance doesn't necessarily equal health. So we want to focus on enhancing health to enhance performance, physically, mentally, and otherwise. Greens. So no matter what your goal is, especially the first 14 days of your nutritional framework, you're going to be having protein and greens, basically. So what are greens? It's really any green vegetable, and with exception, some fruit. So I'll go over those and those exceptions. So it's not what you're thinking typically in terms of fruit. It's not an abundant amount of fruit in this program to start, and it's with good reason, and I'll explain later. But the good greens that you can go with: romaine lettuce, spinach, asparagus, cucumber, broccoli, cabbage, peppers, green olives, artichoke, avocado being that fruit exception. You can even go with if you are going on carbohydrates, you can have lime with that as well. But if you're not on carbohydrates, you remain off fruit altogether except for avocado. That being said, organic is going to lead to lower chemical exposure, less to detoxify. So you're better off going organic with a lot of these things. High nutritional density with organic increases mineral absorption. So the greens are a substance within them that actually increases your ability to absorb and utilize minerals. So vegetables have their part where, in my opinion, the biggest benefit they have is in their ability to allow you to utilize minerals. Fruits and colored vegetables will be covered in the carb section, as I said. And as always, variety is your friend. So on to carbs. So as I said, for those who are allowed to have carbs, you can add lime into that mix of greens. If you're not allowed to have carbs, then you need to omit lime because it's a fruit and we want to avoid sugars altogether. So with carbohydrates, it must be earned. This is going to be found out through lab testing. The vertical line test is what I call. So if we can see the vertical line in your abdominals, so there's a six pack, you have the horizontal lines, but you have a vertical line down the middle. If you can see that vertical line, then you're typically okay to have carbohydrates and cycle through them properly. Your workouts and your goals are going to dictate your carbohydrate intake as well. So it must be earned. Keep that in mind. If you want to drop fat, you need to drop carbs because it's about managing blood sugar and insulin, allowing your body to manage the metabolism properly. For the carb deserving, optimal body fat percentage and training is going to be the ticket to allow you to have carbs. To reiterate that, everybody, no matter what your goal is, will have refeeds. So again, based on your body fat, your training, lifestyle, and goals, your refeeds will be designated to you on an individual basis. So refeeding carbs on a weekly, bi-weekly, or tri-weekly basis, depending on your goals. So for an individual who's trying to lose weight, typically it's going to be a 7-day refeed. So every week after the 14-day detox, you are going to refeed and have a carbohydrate for one meal, one day out of the week. For those who are training more frequently or have optimal body fat percentage, you're going to be doing it on a bi-weekly or tri-weekly basis, basically eating carbohydrates the night before your workout or the day before your workout and omitting carbohydrates from the meat and nuts breakfast, because first meal you want to avoid carbs no matter what your goals are. And then you want to avoid carbohydrates before your training session as well, because that's going to increase serotonin levels, which is a yin neurotransmitter, which brings things down. It calms you down. We don't want to do that. We want to fire you up and get energized for the workout. So your carb refeeds will happen either meals before your workout or the day before your workout, depending on that. And I will designate that to you personally. So this is just meant to be an overview of the refeed, and the purpose behind it is really just to reestablish hormonal levels that drop when you go off carbohydrates, specifically leptin, which is a fat metabolizing hormone. Leptin decreases over time as you stay off carbohydrates. So we want to elevate leptin on a systematic basis to increase your fat metabolism, and that'll keep your metabolism up and going and keep things running as they should. 14-day detox, the purpose of this is really just to get a baseline foundation of clean, healthy eating. Just doing that alone is a detox in and of itself, because you're just getting your greens and you're getting your protein, the essentials for what your body needs to function properly and enhance the detoxifications, your liver, and your ability to get rid of toxins. That's going to set a baseline. It's also going to be something that mentally and emotionally challenges you to get you in the right frame of mind to carry on with the program and achieve the results you desire. So 14-day detox, you're going to pick a day. Typically weekends work best, Saturday or Sunday. Pick a day to start your nutrition guideline, and you are going to stick with that 14-day detox. Now, 14 days means 14 days. If you cheat and have a carbohydrate on the 13th or 12th night, or have a drink on the 12th or 13th night, you have to restart the 14-day detox. We need a clean 14-day commitment. The habit of keeping a habit is more important than the habit itself. So it's about commitment, sticking to your word, doing what the program tells you to do. So this is as much about mindset and mental perspective as it is about the physical. Pick a day, stick with it, quality proteins and greens only. On the 14th day, you will pick a meal to refeed. And as I said, zero tolerance. So 14 days means 14 days. So for the carb deserving, meat and nuts breakfast means no carbs first meal, proteins and fats prior to training. So just stick with a meat and nuts kind of perspective, or meat and greens. You can also use essential amino acids. Supreme Beef Protein by ATP Lab is also a good source. Not whey protein, nothing like that, because that is going to spike insulin. So we want to make that stay nice and low. So Supreme Beef Protein specifically is a good source. 30 to 60 grams per meal, depending on your goals, besides pre-workout and first meal unless otherwise noted. So for your carbohydrates, 30 to 60 grams will be anywhere from a whole potato to 2 sweet potatoes, or 2 potatoes, to give an example, or 2 servings of rice will be about 60 grams. So keep that in mind. About 3/4 of a cup is going to be anywhere between 30 to 45 grams of carbohydrates when it comes to rice. White rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, beans, root vegetables, maple syrup, ripe bananas, pineapple, and mango are going to be the go-tos. Natural carbohydrates are always going to be best over processed breads and flours and things of that nature. Sourdough bread is a better option for bread for most. Ezekiel bread is also a good option as well. And we'll have to discuss in your specific program and for your goals what's going to be best for you. Berries are the best fruit option you can have with any meal. I would say even just a little bit for the meat and nuts isn't going to be bad either. They're not sugary, and they're very high in antioxidants. The general rule of thumb for fruits is the thinner skinned they are, the richer in antioxidants they are, because they have to develop more antioxidants to defend against the sun exposure. Thinner skin means more sun exposure. They're more prone to breakdown from the UV light, so they have to develop more antioxidants as a result of that. Thicker skinned fruits such as like cantaloupe have less antioxidants. So that's more food for thought there. Variety, as I said, is always key there. Moving on to the carb refeed in more detail. For the non-deserving and the 14-day detox refeed, Pick a day and a meal. Lunch or dinner is best. Once a week, every seventh day. You're allowed to have 40 to 60 grams of carbs within that meal unless otherwise designated, more or less. Reduce fat if possible and replace with carbs. So example would be chicken breast with potatoes versus chicken thighs, where normally you could do chicken thighs and greens. You're going to go with chicken breast, something leaner, or 90-10 ground beef versus 80 or 85% ground beef. So reducing the fat is going to reduce the energy intake. As I said, natural carbs are going to be best. And something to do if you have at lunch or dinner, you have your carbs. If you take in the right amount, 40 to 60 grams, you're going to do the mirror test the next day. As I said, leptin will be increasing fat metabolism, so you should actually look leaner, or at the very least, not have gained any weight or look bloated from your carbohydrate intake. If you did it right, we carry on with that 40 to 60 grams of carbs. If you took too much in, we have to reduce your carbohydrate intake, and we'll talk about that on an individual basis. But a typical rule is to drop it by 25%. So if you have, just for simple math, 100 grams of carbs and you look bloated and fat the next day in the mirror test, well, we're going to drop it down to 75 grams of carbohydrates, and so on and so forth, until we get that mirror test down right to where you look leaner after having those carbs the night before. And enjoy it. You earned those carbohydrates. Staying off for a week or making a choice when to have those carbohydrates based on your goals and what we talk about individually. Enjoy those carbs. You earn them. On to fats. So I want to emphasize that fat is not the problem. It's natural fats are not the problem. Industrial seed oils and sugar are the problem. Now, it's all about inflammation markers. And what healthy fats do is they turn on health prone genes, turn off the disease prone genes. So in the field of epigenetics, which stands for above genetics, so what influences gene expression, what influences genetics is nutrition, environment, thought, etc. Movement. All those things influence genes, and you're either turning on or influencing the health prone genes, which are going to reduce inflammation, turn on the metabolism, reduce fat, etc., optimize hormones. Or if you're doing things that are stressing you out negatively and causing things to disrupt the system, it's going to turn on disease prone genes, turning off the health prone genes. So you always want to do things or promote more of a net positive in the health prone gene area. So healthy fats reduce inflammation, enhance brain and gut function, and also have anabolic traits, which means that it helps with growth of muscle, growth of new cells and repair. And it's also a great prebiotic, feeding the gut bacteria that help with our gut health. So you want to avoid unhealthy fats. So those industrial seed oils that I mentioned, you want to avoid corn, canola, which is also known as rapeseed, cottonseed, soy, safflower, and other trans fats. The reason why is because they become rancid and pro-inflammatory in the process of creating these oils. They're not naturally made. You can't just squeeze oil out of a rapeseed or cottonseed plant. You have to heat it up to extremely high heat, high temperatures, and through that process, you get the oil as a byproduct. And for that reason, it becomes very rancid and pro-inflammatory right out of the bottle. Healthy fats, however, saturated fats from animals, coconut, avocado, nuts, grass-fed butter, ghee, tallow, beef tallow, heavy cream, extra virgin olive oil. These oils and fats remain stable over time. So complete opposite of these highly industrialized oils and fats. So hope that paints a picture between one side and the other. Another thing to pay attention to is balanced fatty acids. So you're getting all your different types of oils. You have omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9. Well, there's good omega-6s, which would be primrose oil as an example, flaxseed oil, fish oil, and extra virgin olive oil. The combination of these oils are going to help create a well-balanced diet that gets omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9s in. If you do just fish oil for a period of time, you can actually deplete omega-6 oils in your body, and that can cause an inflammation response, actually. So you want to have a balance between all of those oils: primrose, fish, flaxseed, and extra virgin olive oil in your diet. And you can use these on salads, vegetables, roasting, etc. You want to avoid heating for most of these oils, except you can use extra virgin olive oil under low heat. Coconut oil you can heat at higher levels. Avocado oil you can heat at higher levels. Grass-fed butter you can as well, but you want to make sure that you don't overheat those oils or fats, because they can become rancid, just as the industrial seed oils do. So you want to avoid smoking the oil. So slowly heat the pan, put the oil in, make sure that it does not get smoky. Otherwise, it'll turn rancid and pro-inflammatory. On to water, the engine oil of life. 60% of your body weight in ounces or more daily is going to be the goal. If you're in a hot environment, you're sweating a lot, you're going to need more water. If you're more active, you're going to need more water. But the aim should be 60% of your body weight in ounces daily. Going with a metal or glass bottle in hand is going to be the best bet. Of course, don't let good be the enemy of perfection. If you got plastic bottles, or you're in a pinch and you need to grab a plastic bottle, it's okay. You're better off having water than no water. Filtered water is always going to be the best option. So going with purchasing a Berkey or a tap solution filtration system is going to be a great option, but you can also go with Brita or any of those store-bought filters, and those are going to work effectively. Just make sure you keep the filters clean. Carbonated water promotes mineral loss. So there's ingredients in that carbonated water that actually pull minerals from your body and actually promote mineral loss. So I don't recommend carbonated waters or carbonated drinks for that reason. Water enhances all bodily functions. It's essential for protein digestion, so you got to make sure you increase your water intake as you increase your protein intake, and that's why I emphasize at least 60% of your body weight in ounces a day. Another thing to keep your water intake as a priority: start the day with the 2-to-1 rule. For every 2 cups of water, you can have a cup of coffee or tea or whatever it may be. So 2 cups of water before every cup of coffee. That'll keep you in check to prevent overconsumption of any caffeinated drinks and increase your water intake. The best cognitive and physical enhancer is water. Your brain shrinks overnight and you actually become dehydrated, in a sense, through your breathing and sleeping. And first thing to really spark your system and get your brain firing right, you want to rehydrate it. And like a sponge, it'll soak it up. So 16 to 24 ounces first thing in the morning is really going to light you up. So before coffee or anything else, 16 to 24 ounces, drink it first thing waking up. And just to emphasize the negative sides here, so prevention of dehydration can increase the risk of injury and decrease performance by 20 to 60%. So injury, lack of performance, all associated with dehydration. So make sure you stay properly hydrated in and out of your workouts and throughout the day. This has to be prioritized. It's going to enhance all things. Natural salt is another key ingredient in the nutrition framework. So 3 to 5 grams daily. As always, if you sweat more, if you do more, you're going to need to increase salt intake. But 3 to 5 grams daily. Salt your foods to your liking. It's going to be a big key indicator of how much you should be taking in is listen to your taste buds. So if it tastes really salty and you're very sensitive to it, reduce your salt intake. If you're not noticing anything overpowering, then continue taking it. But it's key to get in natural salts, and I'll go into that in a little bit here. But for the for the sake of muscular performance, gut health, overall health, mineral retention, and function, natural salt is really a key thing. I recommend reading The Salt Fix by Dr. James D. He is really at the forefront when it comes to the research that was uh, really a propaganda that went against the salt industry and really was in favor of the sugar industry. And there's a bunch of skewed data out there and research that really gave salt a bad name. And it doesn't really carry or hold when it comes to the myths of salt, where it's supposed to increase blood pressure and cause issues, cardiovascular disease. That they're not taking into account deficiencies of potassium and other things. So it needs to be a synergistic approach, and natural salt is one of those synergistic approaches. So naturally colored salts such as Redmond's real salt, Celtic Kona salt, the minerals give it the color. This creates synergistic effects with sodium, which helps with the absorption and usage. You don't want to go with bleached stuff because basically you're just getting sodium chloride. You want to get the little micro minerals in with it to help with the absorption and usage of salt in a healthy manner. I'm not a fan of pink Himalayan salt. High amounts of plastic and it's over industrialized. So I like to go with, as I said, Redmond's and Celtic are my two favorite ones. Easily accessible too. You can throw them in protein shakes. Yes, protein shakes, a little quarter teaspoon to a half a teaspoon creates a good salty sweet mix, nothing too strong. Add it to cooking and taste. And just to give you an example, a quarter teaspoon is half a gram of salt. So to put into the equation at 3 to 5 grams daily, that'll help you. Supplements. So supplements, foundational supplements, I think are key in any healthy nutrition framework. So diet plus quality supplements has a compounding effect. 1 plus 1 equals 5. The sum is greater than the parts. So food quality is not up to the standards of what it should be. Industrialized farming doesn't recirculate the soil to the point where you're not getting all of the nutrients, the minerals necessary to grow a nutritionally dense plant. They really just infuse 3 key minerals: phosphate, potassium, and another one I can't think of right now, but there's really only 3 key ingredients that are meant to supercharge the growth of the plant, not the nutritional density of the plant. And that is really shorting our ability to get quality food and quality nutrients within those foods. So supplements help bridge that gap to make sure that we get the nutrients we need in that we can't get from food. So if you've heard, there's been studies out there. One famous study is an apple from the 70s versus an apple from the 2000s. It would take like 50 apples to equate to the nutritional density of one apple back in the 70s. So that's just one prime example there. Supplements are nutritional insurance. They're going to bridge, as I said, bridge that gap between what food doesn't have or in abundant amount anymore with what supplements can help add to your diet. High output requires quality input. So the more you do, the more you demand of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, the more you're going to need going in. So these nutrients are the foundational fuel sources for enzymes, for neurotransmitters, for hormones. So we need to make sure we're getting everything we can in to help fuel those systems and balance everything out. Supplements can enhance mood, energy, focus, gut health, strength, recovery, sleep, hormone balance, and reduce inflammation. So there's a lot of benefit to these things in addition to obviously healthy food. And it combats against stress, toxicity, malnutrition, high blood pressure, microbiota inflammation, which is gut inflammation, and poor sleep. So nutrients are all tied to this. Thus, if you optimize your nutritional intake, you can optimize and reduce those symptoms. Essential supplements, so things that I recommend really everybody should be taking or at least test out to take. One to test out is HCl. So, common problem is people have acid reflux or low stomach acid, maybe no symptoms, but they could have low stomach acid still. This leads to poor digestion. It leads to fermentation of the food, which causes inflammation, and dysbiosis, which is promotion of the bad pathogenic bacteria that benefit and thrive from fermented foods. So if you have partially digested food running through your small intestine, that's not good for the gut. So stomach acid is really meant to kill all those bad microbes, clean out the food, break it down to a point where your body can absorb and utilize the nutrients made up of those foods. And low stomach acid is a something low end but high reward. So that's a foundational supplement. Multivitamin, multimineral enhances detoxification first and foremost. It provides the raw nutrients for your liver, gallbladder, and kidneys to function. It will reduce blood sugar response or enhance the blood sugar response so that you don't have high spiked insulin. It enhances your ability to manage blood sugar effectively. Provides raw nutrients for digestion. Really, the bacteria feed off of those vitamins and minerals. It'll enhance mood. So its studies have been shown to show users of multivitamins have better, more uplifting mood and energetic versus those who don't. And also, inflammation markers are lower in individuals who take multivitamins versus those who don't. And as I said, nutritional insurance for multis and multiminerals. You're getting, just making sure that you're getting what you need and enough of it. The next one is fruits and greens. So this is taking it to the concept of reason why I have you eat green vegetables is because fruits and greens alkalinize the body. This prevents mineral loss. So the more alkaline your cells can be, not your blood, but your cells, this prevents mineral loss. So the more acidic the cells are, the more they're going to lose minerals. But if they're more alkaline, they're going to retain minerals. And this doesn't go into the alkaline diet or anything like that because that's really a farce. We're looking at really just the usage of fruits and greens help to alkalinize the cells of the body, not the blood, which is a difference in the alkaline body. The alkaline diet claims to alkaline the blood, which is not true. Fruits and greens are rich in antioxidants. They enhance the circulation via NO2 precursors. So NO2 is something that expands blood vessels, both tiny and large, and increases circulation. So nutrient and oxygen delivery throughout the entire body, which brings just more life and energy to everything in your body. The next one, D3 and K2. So vitamin D is what it's known as. D3 is a pre-hormone. It helps with production of all things, including testosterone, which is going to boost your energy, drive, focus, and leanness. And knowing that it's a very common deficiency in Western civilization, which can lead to low back pain, depression, weight gain, and inflammation as a whole. So when we reduce inflammation, we enhance all mechanisms of metabolism. So D3 with K2 is foundational. Fish oil, another one. Fish oil improves all things. So it lowers blood pressure and inflammation. Body fat feels healthier on fish oil. I can tell clients who have been on fish oil, taking skin measurements, their skin and fat is just easier to pinch and more fluid, more smooth, as opposed to inflamed and stiff. Can tell the difference between that. Muscle growth and recovery is associated with fish oil, so it's anabolic. It enhances muscle growth and recovery, reduces brain inflammation. It is really the cell wall protector. So the cells in our bodies are coated in a cell membrane, which is made up of omega-3 fatty acids to some extent, and they also help with cellular activation and energy. So that's key. Reducing cortisol as a whole, so reducing chemical stress in the body, and protects against toxins such as air pollution, which is a very, very prevalent thing in Western civilization that we don't talk about. So you can build resilience within with fish oil. Another one is primrose oil because this balances the fish oil out. So it's just rich in omega-6, healthy omega-6 GLA is what it's known as. And this helps to avoid any deficiencies caused by fish oil and reduces inflammation as a whole and enhances all things. So all these supplements really have a synergistic approach. They all really reduce inflammation and enhance metabolism. Probiotic, tons of benefit there. introducing good bacteria and supplying good bacteria into your stomach, which is going to influence all things in your body. We are actually made up of 90% of the cells in our body are made up of foreign bacteria. So we are really eating and working for them, and they work for us in return. So this helps with the brain-gut axis. Healthy gut is going to lead to a healthy brain. Healthy brain is going to lead to a healthy gut, better stress management and mood. Blood sugar regulation is going to enhance, reduces inflammation, and improves digestion. And that 90% is just emphasizing 90% of the cells in our body are actually bacteria cells. And fiber, another thing to help with detoxification and digestion. It is also a probiotic, meaning it enhances, it feeds the good bacteria in our body. It binds toxins for removal, so basically packages it up to get it out and help to clean the system. And lowers blood pressure and keeps things regular digestively. So fiber is another thing that will reduce blood pressure and improve health markers. So those are the foundational supplements. As you start your program, I'm going to be individually recommending what to take and adjusting your protocol as such. So this is really just to give you the why behind the how. And then the last thing I want to cover is conscious eating. So the reason why I don't count calories is because it's number 10 or 11 on the list of things that enhance results, weight loss, and enhance metabolism and health, because we are like a sailboat, going over the ocean. We are dependent upon the weather, so many different things, so many different factors. Or another equivalent good example is a plane flying against the wind versus with the wind. It depends on the weather and where we're going. There's so many factors that go into it. So one thing that will help us is just paying attention to how our body is reacting to the foods. When you eat healthy foods, nutritionally dense foods, it's a good rule to follow the 80% rule. So if you're trying to lose weight or transform your body into less fat, more muscle, and leaner, or trying to maintain weight and build strength, 80% rule is a great rule to follow, meaning that you eat until you're satiated, you're 80% full, you're not stuffed, you don't have to lay down. It's not like Thanksgiving dinner. 80% full, you feel good, you're satiated, and you should have an appetite to the point where you probably will eat another 3 or 4 hours from now. Chew your food. This is key. This is the first step to digestion besides seeing and smelling the food. So a good rule is practice doing 30 times. Chew your food. Be conscious of what you're eating. Look at it. We're so in a high output environment with work and what we do that we often eat in front of the screen, and we're not paying attention to what we're eating. We just stuff it down our throats and get on with the day. Take time, focus on being present and practice gratitude with the food that you have. Develop your focus muscle. Use this time as training in essence. And after a certain time, you don't have to really count 30 times, because you'll develop the habit of just chewing that long and chewing to a point where you feel the food broken down enough to be able to swallow it effectively. And that increases the absorption of those nutrients. So your body, your stomach acid, your intestines don't have to work as hard to break down that food, which is going to promote healthy gut bacteria, less fermented food running through the digestive system. So it all connects. That's why I'm adding it here. Chew your food. And look at food as I said, a fuel source, a drug that can be a performance enhancing drug. Reflect, use time to recharge, reconnect with your body and mind, and to fuel what's ahead. So use it as a break time, halftime, or a point where you can sit on the bench and look at the game plan for the rest of the day. Connect with people, connect with those around you. Use food as a multiple variable enhancer. It's going to enhance your mind, body, and soul. So use it effectively. And as always, variety is your friend. So picking different foods and sources is going to help you out in the long run and short. So that's it for your nutritional framework. Hope this gives you more depth and understanding the philosophy behind healthy eating and how this can be used to enhance the purpose and the drive and the focus behind your program. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next module.